All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review and our continuation of our BCBA task list series with C, Measurement, Data Display, and Interpretation. Today we're covering C2, Direct, Indirect, and Product Measures of Behavior. Again, very rudimentary stuff, especially if you were a behavior technician before. This is measurement you've done basically your whole career. And we're going to give more technical ideas behind direct, indirect, and product measures because as a BCBA and behavior analyst, that's what you should know. But we're not going to overcomplicate it, okay? At the end of the day, direct, indirect, and product measures are very straightforward, and they're exactly what they have been as far as being an RBT and now a BCBA. So let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalystdata.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Okay, C2, direct, indirect, and product measures of behavior. Now, measurement gives us a means for describing and comparing behavior using labels and numbers. And that's just a fancy way of saying if we're not measuring, then the ideas of description, prediction, and control, remember our ideas behind science, they're just subjective, okay? We can have all these theories, we can have all these ideas, and we can observe all we want, but if we're not measuring things and quantifying things using numbers for comparing and describing, it means nothing. So with measurement, we want to identify the behavior to be measured, define the behavior operationally, and then select the appropriate measurement system. So measurement allows us to operationalize empiricism. We talk all the time about being empirical, and that means observing and then using your observation to measure and record data that we're going to use to make judgment calls. Empiricism is subjective until we start measuring and showing what exactly we are observing. And then measurement allows us to objectively answer questions about functional relations between behaviors and environment. So again, let's not overcomplicate this stuff. Measurement simply means we're going from, well, this is what I see, and this is what I hypothesize, to actually, okay, let me put a number on this. Let me put a label on this. So I can actually start comparing and contrasting and examining what it is I am empirically observing. So objective observation of events that are based on data are, well, A, empirical, right? Empirical is observation of events, and then we're going to measure so we can have data. And that's when we talk about empirical evidence, that's what we mean. These are observations based on data, and the data show that the observation says one thing or another. Technological, conceptually systematic, and generalizable are some other dimensions of ABA, but technological is repeatable, right? We can replicate what we've written to other trained individuals. Conceptually systematic, we're using principles of ABA, and generalizable just means we're generalizing our teachings and our skills and the things we're training our learners to do. So let's start with direct measurement. Okay, direct measurement occurs when the behavior measured is the focus of the behavior change program. Meaning, whatever your target behavior is, you are directly observing it yourself. You're not getting somebody else to observe it. You're not asking somebody else what they saw. You're directly observing and measuring what that focus is of your behavior change program. So frequent and direct measures of behavior enable us to make database decisions and changes during treatment. You can't intervene without direct measurement. It's your job as a behavior analyst to directly measure things. Again, direct measurement just means you are actually observing the behavior yourself. So direct measurement involves observing the learner and behavior of interest. So it's not based on interviews, surveys, or anecdotes. And then most measurement procedures rely on direct measurement to produce reliable, accurate, and valid data. If we're not actually observing the behavior, then we're relying on data that are based on stories and observations and recordings of other people. The only way to be really sure we have reliable, accurate, and valid data is to go in there and directly measure it ourselves. Direct measurement is non-negotiable, and you've got to directly measure before we start intervening. So before implementing an intervention, what must behavior analysts do? A, conduct an indirect assessment. Now, it's recommended that we could conduct indirect assessments. We get learning histories and client histories and things like that from teachers and parents, but it's not a requirement. Okay. If we don't get that indirect assessment, that's okay, as long as we personally have a direct assessment. You have to have a direct assessment before intervening. It's non-negotiable, because you can't possibly make an intervention or a treatment plan without observing things yourself, because then you're just strictly going on auxiliary or supplemental or indirect information. And then conduct a functional analysis. Again, would be great, but not necessary. What is necessary is conducting a direct assessment before intervening. So indirect measures do not measure the actual behavior, but they use other means to gather data on the behavior of interest. So like most things, right? It's not black and white. It's not saying direct measurement is good, indirect measurement is bad. It's just saying each has a place. Indirect measurement has a place. It's just never going to be as accurate, valid, and reliable as direct measurement, and we can't use it as the basis of our plans. Because with indirect measures, we're really making inferences and guesses and assumptions about behavior. If you've ever conducted a client interview or a stakeholder interview, you can probably know that the information you're getting is through the lens of that person you're talking to, right? Surveys and checklists and interviews, all these things are through the biased eye of the speaker, of the person you're asking the information from, right? You're not getting your direct measurement. Again, indirect measurement has its place, but it's useless without direct measurement. So things like surveys, interviews, anecdotes, checklists, and tests. These are all common examples of indirect measures that are used to make inferences and assumptions about behavior. And then finally, product measurement, or permanent product, as we commonly know it as, measures the effects or outcomes of the behavior. So there are a lot of advantages of permanent product. One, behavior of interest does not need to be observed. So if I say clean your room, I don't have to watch you clean your room, right? If I say go buy milk at the store, I don't have to watch you go buy milk at the store. If I say complete your homework, I don't have to watch you do these things. You get the point, right? So the behavior of interest does not actually need to be observed to measure the product. Now, you can measure behavior that occurs infrequently or at inopportune times. So maybe you can't be there to watch the behavior, see the behavior happen, but maybe there's a product that you can look at later. And it can sometimes be more accurate, complete, and continuous. If you think of video and audio recordings, well, those are contrived permanent products. You videotape these things, and then you go in yourself and you can watch that video as many times as you want to ensure accurate measurement. So sometimes permanent product is actually more accurate, complete, and continuous than other types of measurement. A couple rules regarding permanent product. Target behavior must produce the same product each time. So if permanent product, or if the behavior is inconsistent or it doesn't produce, a common one is self-injury. If self-injury doesn't always leave a mark, you can't use permanent product because it's not reliable, right? You can't guarantee every time you're going to get some sort of measurement. And then two, the product can only be produced by the behavior. So you don't want to measure a product that can be produced in other ways, because then you're not actually measuring what you intend to measure. So that's really it. Okay, that's direct, indirect, and product measures. Again, some additional information that maybe you knew or didn't know, but at the end of the day, because as we go through C, we're going to start actually getting into our temporal relationships and our measurements and all the different types of measurements that go along with these different types of measures. But this is just a overview and a refresher, right? Direct measurement is best. You are empirically looking at what is occurring. You're taking data. Indirect is fine. It's useful. It has its place with interviews and surveys and things like that. And then permanent product is kind of niche, but it allows for some interesting ways to measure behavior. Because with permanent product, you're measuring the outcome or the product of the behavior. So again, Don't overcomplicate it. It hasn't changed just because there's more information. It's the same as it's always been. Okay. And so with our foundational stuff, that's what you're looking for, right? A good base until we get deeper into the more complex measurement stuff, which we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. As always, check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. ABA Exam Review brought you this video today, so tell your friends. As always, when you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.